Yeah.
All right, everyone. It is time to talk water. Do we have Nancy on the line? We do. Cool. Nancy Vogel is with the California Department of Water Resources. And, California is in one of those situations where water's always an issue.
Yes, it is.
It's like we can never just take a breath. Even if we have a really great water year, you're always thinking ahead. So we are not in the middle of a great water year, that is for sure. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, glad to be here. Good morning.
Good morning. So we did get some rain this past week, and at least at my home, we got a lot of it. Boy, there was a really heavy downpour. I think it was Thursday night. Where do we stand water-wise?
Well, our water supply outlook is, as we head into the summer, it's really not as bad as you might think, given that we had a record dry January and February in much of the state. But that's mostly thanks to our reservoir system, which caught runoff from the early season storms in late November and early December. But there's concern that the agricultural production in the San Joaquin Valley is going to suffer with less irrigation water than needed in some regions because, as you know, I'm sure your listeners know, the valley produces a great deal of our fruits and vegetables and nuts, even our wine for most of the country. And the situation would be a lot better if we, that is the California Department of Water Resources, and the federal government's Central Valley Project had been able to pump more water from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta this winter. See, now you may have gotten a lot of rain, but the rain that really matters to most of the state is the rain that flows through the Delta. And many of your listeners, they might not know that more than 25 million people and about 3 million acres of irrigated farmland are supplied by water from the Delta. The Delta is where the major streams, pretty much 40% of California drains through, the runoff drains through the Delta, which is between Sacramento and Stockton. And it's a really rich, ecologically rich estuary, but it's also a productive farming area. And we've had to reduce our pumping from the Delta this winter to improve conditions for the Delta smelt, which is a small native fish protected by the U.S. Endangered Species Act, and also salmon. So we got a lot of water in November and December, and then it pretty much dried up in January, February, and then water we might have been able to move, we couldn't move because we needed to stop pumping to protect native fish in the Delta. So as a result, cities, farms, they can expect reduced supplies across much of the state this summer.
So the farmers in the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys put in their order, right, through the Department of Water Resources? How does that work? They say, we want a certain amount.
In the San Joaquin Valley, they do. In the Sacramento Valley, those folks up there, if you think about it, the water's running down through the Sacramento Valley.
Oh, right.
And they've had long-standing, very good, solid water rights. And, yes, we have federal and state systems that help deliver water to the farmers up there, but they've got good rights. Once the water reaches the Delta, that's where the Sacramento and the San Joaquin rivers kind of come together in a tangle of channels before they flow out the San Francisco Bay. There are two big water project systems that are centered right there at the southern edge of the Delta, and that's the federal project and the state project. They pump water hundreds of miles away to supply the San Joaquin Valley, most of Southern California, the Santa Clara Valley, parts of Alameda County even, and they get their water from the Delta, and the supplies there, the pumping can be restricted by the U.S. Endangered Species Act. So our supplies are erratic to begin with. You know, if you think about it, two-thirds of the precipitation falls north of Sacramento, but two-thirds of the demand for water in California exists south of Sacramento. So the Delta is this critical hub where we move the water.
Wait, can you repeat that? What percentage falls north of the Delta and what percentage is used south of it?
Two-thirds of our rain and snow fall north of Sacramento, but two-thirds of the demand, the human demand for water, it's south of Sacramento.
How interesting. So we're really in the business of shifting this resource statewide in a big way.
Well, that's exactly right. California's economy, it wouldn't be what it is today if we didn't move water hundreds of miles for better or worse. You know, that we've really altered this state hydrologically.
You know, Nancy, we're coming up against a commercial break here. I want to talk about the efficiency of our California aqueduct system when we come back. It's aging. It's an amazing system that was put in decades ago, and I'm wondering where that stands right now. Also, I want to get a little bit more into the Delta smelt and the ecology around the Delta, and then what people can do really to help mitigate some of the water situation that we face year in and year out. Nancy Vogel joining us from the California Department of Water Resources, the DWR. Joins us and will rejoin us here in just a moment. You're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network on this Sunday morning. Back in a moment. California business owners, entrepreneurs, farmers, authors, and other professionals, this message is for you. We're looking to highlight those of you who give back to the community, care about the environment, and have the health of our state as part of your business model or focus. Our new California Love website is in the beta testing phase. So, during the next few months, we're offering free listings to qualified people or business entities. It's a win-win situation. You help populate our site with quality, locally owned California companies, and we help direct customers to your business or product. Simply head over to CALUV.com. That's CA as in California, LUV as in a cute way to spell love.com, and enter the information for your business today. Why wouldn't you? It's easy and it's free. CALUV.com, the California Love Business Recommendation Tool. Hey, farmers market fans, listen up because we're launching a new show just for you. Join the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network each Thursday evening from 5:30 to 6 for a healthy dose of recipe sharing and food news. We broadcast our show live from the historic downtown San Luis Obispo Farmers Market, but the information shared is designed for anyone who has a love of fresh, seasonal produce and locally made artisan treats. So whether your favorite market is located at San Francisco's Ferry Plaza in downtown Santa Monica, or if you're simply a member of a CSA, you'll love our weekly Market Fresh, available live each Thursday evening at eatdrinkexplore.com. And if you missed the show, follow our updates on Facebook and Twitter for links to the recipes shared, video from the show, and other great information. Eat, Drink, Explore Radio's Market Fresh, helping perfect your California flavor.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to decide?
This is Annie Lennox of Eurythmics for Rad. Please don't drink and drive, and don't drive if someone else has been drinking. Thank you.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Across the nation, people are stepping up for their mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, partners, sisters, and brothers. They're leading the way and walking to end Alzheimer's, the 6th leading cause of death in the nation. Together, we can reclaim the future. Walk to end Alzheimer's. Start a team. Join a team. Go to alz.org.
California business owners, entrepreneurs, farmers, authors, and other professionals, this message is for you. We're looking to highlight those of you who give back to the community, care about the environment, and have the health of our state as part of your business model or focus. Our new California Love website is in the beta testing phase. So, during the next few months, we're offering free listings to qualified people or business entities. It's a win-win situation. You help populate our site with quality, locally owned California companies, and we help direct customers to your business or product. Simply head over to CALUV.com. That's CA as in California, LUV as in a cute way to spell love.com, and enter the information for your business today. Why wouldn't you? It's easy and it's free. CALUV.com, the California Love Business Recommendation Tool. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Bird says it's time to wake up. That's what it sounds like. Little bird chirp.
Tweet.
9:19 the time right now. You know, originally, a year ago when we were on, that was a sounder for this little Twitter segment we used to have.
Yes, I remember that.
And so that's why I threw the bird noise in there. Great to have you with us. 9:19, you're listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore Radio Network on this Sunday morning. I hope it's not too rough getting out of bed right now with the time change. Yikes. And so we really want to thank our guest, Nancy Vogel with the California Department of Water Resources, who's on the line with us right now to talk about California's spring and summer water situation as we head into some months following a rather dry year. Where are we percentage-wise, Nancy, when it comes to the Sierra snowpack? That is what really matters, is it not?
That's exactly right. The Sierra snowpack, that's like a giant frozen reservoir that drains slowly in a nice, predictable way for us each spring, and we collect that in our major reservoirs. But right now, the snowpack water content, which is the way we measure exactly how much water we're going to get from that snow, it's 66% of average for this time of year. So March is disappearing rapidly, and we get most of our rain and snow and the precipitation we need for water supplies for the rest of the year in a very narrow window. California's funny. It's usually just 5 to 15 days in a given year where we get most of our annual precipitation. And so we're still hoping that we can get some storms in March, but it's not looking so good.
So, Nancy, other than crossing our fingers and hoping for rain,
maybe doing a dance or two,
what are some solutions, some ways we can improve the water situation here for California? Do you have plans?
I'd love to answer that.
Okay,
yes,
good.
You know, I can talk on the individual level first, but then I'd like to tell you about the larger scale. But it's just kind of funny that you asked me to be on your show on the Sunday morning right after we've moved our clocks forward an hour, because we're trying to get people to connect that time of year when they change their clock to getting out in their yard and checking their sprinklers. Most people think that they use more water in their homes than they do in their yards, but that's not true. And one of the biggest untapped savings out there would be if people could just start to check their sprinklers, fix the leaks, change the heads, use more efficient drip irrigation, buy a little rain sensor that hangs off of your eaves, and we'll make sure that your sprinklers don't run when it's raining. There's a lot you can do. Most people overwater their lawns. That's one of the most common problems. So cut back wherever you can.
Or just lawns in general, right?
Right. Rip them out. Put in some drought-tolerant, hardy, beautiful natives. There's a lot you can do. We have a website called saveour-H2O.org. You can go there for all kinds of tips. But on the larger scale, as I was starting to talk about earlier, the Delta, the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, from which we get a huge portion of California's water supply, for 30, 40 years now, we've had these conflicts where we've got the native fish species are declining, and the ecologies in some people would say collapse, and that means we've had less and less reliable water supplies out of the Delta. At the Department of Water Resources, we're working really hard to try to balance. We're coming up with a plan called the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. It has two goals, co-equal goals, to help restore the ecosystem at the same time we stabilize the water deliveries. And that means primarily that we would change the way we take water from the Delta. We're proposing to build intakes 35 miles north of where they are right now on the banks of the Sacramento River, and we would tunnel 2 twin tunnels 35 miles under the Delta so that we would be taking in water in a place where it would do less harm to the native fish, and we could put state-of-the-art modern fish screens there so that the young salmon and the big salmon moving up and down the Sacramento River could get past the intakes more safely, and it would help restore more natural flows in that estuary, and that would help make the supplies we can pump away more reliable.
So a portion of the problem is the process of removing the water, not necessarily, it doesn't all lay in the fact that the water's being removed, it's the removal of it that's causing the problem.
That's a big part of the problem. Right now the federal and state water project pumps are located at the southern edge of the Delta, and when they draw on channels down there, kind of dead-end channels, they're powerful, and those channels actually flow a bit in reverse, and that can really confuse migratory salmon. And then there's big striped bass and other predators that hang out down there and prey on the young salmon and the delta smelt, and it's just not a good situation there. We think we can, by moving the pumps, get a better situation for fish, and the federal and state wildlife agencies agree. They're in support of that. But just as important, we're planning to restore more than 100,000 acres of habitat. The Delta's a very altered place. It's been transformed by people into a bunch of farmed islands with these there's big levees around each of the islands. It used to be a vast tule marsh, a big wetland with riparian forest and so on. We want to bring back a lot of that. We want to reconnect rivers to their floodplains. We want to recreate tidal marsh so that the fish have more places to hang out and feed and breed and get strong, and we're hoping that that will help the populations as well.
Hey, Nancy, I don't know if you have any statistics on this, but anytime I go up and down I-5 or travel through the San Joaquin Valley, I'm always, especially if it's a hot summer day, I always think to myself, how much water is being lost to evaporation with this open air aqueduct system? What if the aqueduct was covered to reduce the amount of evaporation, and then on top of the coverings you put solar panels?
Oh, that's interesting. There was a measure in the legislature a few years ago to ask DWR to study the installation of solar panels because we have the right-of-way along hundreds and hundreds of miles right through the San Joaquin Valley.
Yeah.
And we are looking at that. The DWR is doing a lot to try to green itself and reduce our carbon emissions, and we are looking at the installation of solar panels at various facilities. Now, as for covering the canals to prevent the loss of the water through transpiration, boy, that would be a lot of digging, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
to tunnel under 600 miles or so, that would be a massive, massive project.
But could you just cover without doing any digging, just put a roof sort of
cover
on
over it,
top of what already
like
exists?
you do for your spa or your
jacuzzi?
I have to plead ignorance. I don't. I'm sorry. It's a good notion, though. I like that.
I have a ton of them. Just give me a ring any day.
So, Nancy, it's funny because from our aspect of, having some rain here where we are in San Luis Obispo County, it seems like that was a lot of rain. But then to find out in terms of what that really means for stored water, to me, it seems like we should be in a better situation than we are.
I see. Well, on the coast, you don't have the major reservoirs that can trap that water, and you're so close to the ocean, so it runs off to the ocean and it can't be captured. And now, in the biggest reservoirs in this state, the biggest one is Shasta, Lake Shasta, and it's up near Redding. It holds about 4.5 million acre-feet. That's a lot. And then you've got Lake Oroville, which is on the State Water Project near the city of Oroville. It holds about 3.5 million acre-feet. And then down by Sacramento, about 30 miles east of Sacramento, you have the Folsom Reservoir. So most of the big reservoirs are positioned so that they can capture that snowmelt when it comes off the Sierra.
Are we still getting any water from the Colorado River?
Yes, we are, but we sure should expect to get less. We get, I think it's about, from the Colorado River, about 4 million acre-feet, I think, on average. In the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, which serves a lot of cities from, say, Ventura to San Diego, they depended fairly heavily on Colorado River water for many years. But the California always got the benefit of the water that other states upstream didn't use, but they're starting to use more and more of their water, Arizona and Nevada, which means there's less and less for us.
I could have you on a whole nother segment.
So much to talk about.
Yeah, because I'm curious about the Salton Sea. I'm curious about just so many different things, but we don't have any more time to get to it. We'll have to have you back. Maybe we can have you back on a regular basis to discuss